I'm really excited to talk to you because Alex told me that you help people with a number of things. One of them is, regulating the body and healing. Is that about right, or am I way off?
No, that's about right. Yeah. I work with a lot of patients who live with complex chronic diseases and as well as a healthy population as well, who are feeling maybe a little bit lost, a little bit disconnected from themselves. Maybe they're not sure what the next step on their path is or need some clarity, or maybe they're just not feeling very good in their body.
Awesome. Okay. So,
I have a question.
um, sure.
Where are chronic diseases coming from?
That's a complicated question. Um, you're going to get a lot of different opinions on this, and I don't know that any are right or wrong. Okay, so it's important that I stay within my scope of practice. I'm not a medical professional. I'm someone who has lived for a decade with complex chronic diseases. I'm someone who supports hundreds of patients who live with complex chronic diseases. And I'm someone who's really dove into my body through energy and nervous system regulation to explore different aspects that have been maybe trapped in my body over the years and are now showing up as symptoms. So there is a very common theme within complex chronic illness of people who are living in this fast forward pace, people who have a really hard time slowing down, who maybe are living for other people's needs rather than for themselves, who often equate their self-worth with their level of productivity. So these are some very common themes that show up in complex chronic diseases. And when you do look back throughout the timeline of their life, you can see where some of these things have come to a head and their bodies have really started to get loud to interrupt that cycle.
So I want to add one thing and kind of strengthen. Basically, if I'm getting you correctly, you're saying that people who are very anxious and are looking to other people maybe to validate them and make them feel good, those type of people, they never feel good, and so they're never calm. This creates a huge strain on their bodies and their various glands around their body and their brain, their liver, and their inner parts. And so they develop chronic pain, something like this. um and I wanted to kind of counter in a supporting way. Like, you said that you're not a medical professional, and in the same time, I think that medicine has its place and it saves so many lives, and often it's the absolute right thing to do. And in the same time, often it doesn't have the answer. For a lot of people, it doesn't
Absolutely.
have the answer, and it misses the big picture of things, and it focuses on symptoms rather than roots of the issue. So that's also a problem. That means that some solutions, your methods will be the most effective, and for some problems, people obviously need surgery or pills or some sort of medicine. So yeah, I just wanted to add that. Back to the anxious people, or if you want to respond, feel free.
Yeah, I'll respond because if I've broken a bone, I want a doctor. You know, I absolutely want a doctor. Um, if I have a medical condition that is, manifested in the body, I do believe that there is a need to treat it on a physical level as well, right? But that doesn't necessarily get you out of that cycle that kind of got you there in the first place. So I don't think that, I think we need both, is what I'm saying, right? We
Yeah.
need the alternative practices, we need the self exploration, we need the nervous system regulation, and in some cases, we need a medical professional too, of some form, right? And it's not just the anxious people. I want to clarify that too, right? It's people who people pleasers, depression, trauma, anxiety is absolutely one of them. But we see this pattern of people living in a way that just does not serve them. It doesn't honor who they are.
Yeah. So can add to that also very angry people. They have various chronic diseases, very controlling people who,
Yeah.
can develop many things. Yeah. So what are some of the solutions that you offer? I know that this is a big loaded question because, like, to help somebody heal the root of a chronic disease that's rooted in emotion is a journey. We have to help them maybe understand the language of their emotions. Most people don't even have that. They don't even know what they're feeling most of the time. They're so numb. They're
Sometimes I don't know if it matters if they know what they're feeling, as long as they'll let themselves feel it in a
Mhm.
safe way, right? So sometimes it's less about the intellectual, right? A lot of us go to that intellectualizing place where we never have to feel anything because we just think it. We just think it through, we process it in our brain, right? A lot of us go to therapy for years and never get better because it's all intellectualized. We can voice all the ways that we know that things have gone wrong or that we've done or how we're feeling, and we're still not better because we've never brought it back to the body.
Yeah, that's a great point. One of the things that I work with when I work with guys is I teach them how to reconnect with their instincts. That's actually the first thing. I call it instincts. Some people call this intuition. This will tell you a lot. Those could be um, kind of, they could be wrong. Like you could misinterpret and misunderstand your own base animalistic feelings, your like basic emotions. Um, so what that creates is when you don't understand, it's not intellectually, it's understand, just even note. For example, this person in my office, he gives me the creeps for whatever reason. Like I feel uncomfortable with him. That's an instinctual emotion over there that's telling you it doesn't know what's going on, but it's trying to raise an alarm, right?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah, so when we don't acknowledge and don't understand and don't pay attention to those at all, and we try to kind of justify or be nice or get along with people despite what we're feeling in these very low base emotions, then that's creating a big disconnect between who we really are, because who we really are is we know some way somehow that guy's a creep. That's who we really are, and the mask that we are wearing, which is, hey Steve, how you going?
Yeah,
Glad to see you
the
in
good girl
next.
mask
Yeah, or well, I'm not a good girl, but yeah,
or the good boy mask, right? We
yeah,
all
yeah,
have that
yeah,
archetyped in us pretty
yeah,
much, right?
yes.
So I
Yeah.
want to
So
add something. When we ignore our first instinct, and then the danger become closer and closer, then this is when the anxiety and the emotion and all the physical emotion you can feel that are really annoying, I've been through this as well, are coming up, right? So first it's an instinct that telling you stop, and you should listen to this first and not keep going. And then you have the feelings that kick in if you keep going this way, which is, you know, it's a bad way. And it's a way for the body to tell you have to stop because we are going straight into the wall, right? And people still ignore this second step. And for me, what I understood is that if you ignore that, then the stress accumulates and the chronic disease start to appear. What is your take on this, Dennis?
Yeah, I agree. By the time I start seeing people, by the time they've reached kind of where they're landing with me, most people are not even sure what is instinct and what is intuition and what is a trauma response, right? So
Yeah.
often that first hit, you might not even be responding to what's happening right now. You might be responding to what happened to you 10 years ago.
Right.
Right? So that's a bit of a process to go through to start to be able to discern what is my gut reaction, what is my intuition, which is quiet and still, and where am I actually not even responding to what's happening right now in this moment? Where am I responding to what happened to me, a decade ago? But you do have to start by feeling. So I think Simon makes a really good point, right? Start in the body, start connecting to that space, and then you can unlayer it from there.
So if you are lucky, it's 10 years ago. Some people, they wake up when they are 40 or 50 years old with cancer. It's not chronic disease, but it's another kind of sickness, right? That is due to stress. I mean, genetic as well, but also a lot of stress, right?
Yeah.
So all the cancer, all this could be avoided if we just listen to our feeling and stop going against ourselves, right?
Yeah, I don't like to give like an all or nothing kind of idea, like that all of this could be avoided. But I do
reduced,
tend
right?
to lean that way. I
Right.
do tend to lean that way in my own life. Like, had I followed that inner knowing, had I allowed myself to slow down enough to even know what that was and to feel it, then perhaps I could have avoided a lot of this for sure.
What's coming to my mind is that, our fundamental gut instincts, which most people don't know how to use. They don't even know they're there. But if we listen to those, it's not all or nothing. It's not all or nothing, but it's so much better. We don't have to listen to this only about how we live our lives and how we interact with people. Also, is this correct for me to eat? Your gut knows if it's like full of chemicals, if it's artificial, if it's processed. Your gut instincts literally knows. Your taste bud knows. Like, we like, it's like ridiculous. We know very well what this stuff is doing to us. We do it anyway, and so we give ourselves chronic disease. So that's just one example. But how we work, how we interact with people, how we rest. Also, some people, they can't even rest because they're
I couldn't.
Yeah.
I was one of those people.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I like to look at it like this. If no matter where you go, you are there, right? You can move away to leave an uncomfortable situation. You can run, you can leave a relationship, you can change jobs. But if the discomfort is inside of you, you can go wherever you want. You're still there.
So before, when you were talking and Alex jumped in and didn't give me the chance, but what came to my mind when you were describing how you're teaching people to start to understand and connect and make the difference between a unhealthy response and my true emotion and my fears or so on. what came to my mind was children finger painting. Why? Because that's like the activity that, you know, we give kids to like begin building these like very fundamental skills of doing art, being creative, maybe also kind of like, you know, you're do it, but don't eat the paint. Like that's the goal. Like that's the standard, right? It's like very, very simple, right? I'm half joking, but that's kind of true also. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because a lot of adults today, what they need is they need to do the finger painting of emotions, of connecting with the body. They need to do the most basic, most fundamental, simple activities to develop these sides of themselves and these skills that they've never even touched. They've never developed them. And I can speak to hours about why they've never got into this, but I won't. But yeah, I'm sure you have a lot to add.
Yeah, well, not only have they never developed those skills, they have actively avoided it. I think most people,
Yeah,
right? That is how we are raised, is
yeah,
to actively avoid. We're taught that from such a young age. You know, you come and you're crying, and it's like, don't cry about that. You're fine. I don't want to hear it. Right? And so,
yeah.
right from your earliest development years, many, many people are just taught, shut that down, shut that down. It's not safe to feel it. These adults who are here to care for me cannot tolerate this emotion, so it must not be safe. They can't tolerate this expression, so it must not be safe, right? You have a child who's filled with these big, overwhelming emotions that they know nothing about. They know nothing of how to regulate it. They rely on that adult co-regulator. And if their co-regulator can't handle that emotion, they're just, you know, without saying it, they're learning this is not safe. It is not safe for me to feel this. It is not safe for me to express this.
Not safe and not okay, and it's a
Not
hindrance, and
accepted.
yeah, yeah.
I'm
And
only loved if I am smiling, you know? I'm only loved if I'm quiet and not crying.
and I think in nature with a lot of animals, and also with uh hunter gatherer tribes, the mother, she carries her baby close to her for months and months, maybe a year or so. Like he's in contact, he or she is in contact with, you know, a loving, supporting parent way more than, you know, children today, right? And I think that even after that, they, you know, they have, like I said, I can talk about why we got here as a civilization where it's not okay to express your feelings for hours. I've done all the work, I have all the details, don't need to get into all of that now, but the gist of it is that it is inconvenient for a lot of families over the past 50 years
It's both
to
inconvenient. Sorry if I cut you
no
off
no
there, but
go on.
it's both inconvenient because of the society that we're in right now, but also most parents right now were also raised that way. So
Yeah.
they didn't have that co-regulator either, right? They
Mm-hmm.
never learned that. So not only has society taken us away from what you're saying, but parents, like, there's no course, you know, there's no like process that you go through to become a parent besides becoming a parent. So parents aren't taught how to regulate themselves so that they can co-regulate a child. So it's uncomfortable. It feels like a threat to the parent's nervous system. And then the cycle continues.
I think it's even way worse than you're describing, because you know a child in Western civilization today a parent sends his child to get educated, and then the parent is graded by how functional the child is, how well does the child do in tests, how well does the and then if your child is the one eating paint, oh no, oh
Yeah.
no, it's terrible. Like it's they don't even know what to do.
I truly believe, and I could go on forever about this and I won't, but I truly believe that setting up the appropriate supports for individual children at in their earliest developmental years. So like, you know, birth to even like conception. I'm going to go as far back as conception to, elementary school, mid-elementary school years, setting up what authentically supports that individual child is preventative medicine.
So how do we support
Hold on,
a
hold on. What is preventative medicine?
So what is preventative medicine, or what are the supports? What's your
No,
question?
okay. Preventative medicine, Alex, it's you give the child whatever they need growing up and in early stages, so that later they're cool, no
So
problem.
you're talking about emotional support.
Everything they need, including the emotions, the nutrition,
The survival, okay. Materialistic
education.
survival and emotional survival. Got it.
Yeah. So my question was, I wanted to take a step back, Denise, is you said like something very interesting, like you believe from conception we should be providing for basically fetuses, right? How
Yeah.
do we do that? Like that's so interesting. How can we do that?
By supporting the nervous system of the mother.
Okay.
So as a baby is growing, the mother's nervous system is directly impacting that baby. Everything that the mother feels, that baby is feeling. And I can't say like where in the process of how many months in that begins to happen, but that is something that has been studied at this point, that everything that the mother feels, the baby feels as it's growing. So if you have a mother who is very unsupported throughout her pregnancy, is in fight flight throughout her pregnancy, that is being felt by that child, and that nervous system of that child is being developed as that mother is feeling those things.
So this is like this is a great example of one of the topics that I really don't care about, the data and the tests and the studies and all of that. We know on a fundamental instinctual level that when a mother that's carrying a child, even if it's a day old, okay, she gets stressed, she gets frightened, hysterical, hurt. That changes the composition of the hormones in her body, in her mind, in her blood, in all her system. Of course, it's going to affect whatever is feeding off her. And
Yeah.
his, the growing child's blood is her blood. The nutrition's in her body is from her. So it's just so obvious. So absolutely, I agree that we should protect and take care of pregnant women and mothers. It's so important. It yeah. I have a lot to say.
Yeah,
I wish
too,
my
and
mother
but
was more protected. Yeah. Yeah.
that's the thing. We live in a society that doesn't know how to offer that support. The systems that we live in are designed to be reactive, not preventative.
Yeah.
So we have talked a lot about the problems, and we still haven't really talked about what you do, Dennis, and how you help people overcome this, how you help them regulate their nervous system. And that's very interesting to me to hear.
I
Yeah,
think
so
I think,
Go
Denise,
ahead,
you
Simon.
started by explaining, some of the fundamentals of teaching them to understand, like, between unhealthy emotions and healthy, instinctual, intuitive emotions and needs. So that's kind of like step one, Denise, right?
I think all emotions are healthy. I want to make sure I'm clear about that. So all emotions are healthy. They're meant to be felt, right? When we don't feel them, they don't discharge, right? If emotions are energy in motion, we have to be able to feel them, express them, discharge them in some way. So when we place good and bad on various emotions, I think it stops people from feeling safe to feel them.
But Denise, if I'm furious with you and I'm so angry on one hand, but on the other hand, I don't want to hurt you, I don't want to explode. Let's say it's like I'm pretty chill.
Yep.
Very hard to make me angry, but let's say I do. So on the one hand, I have this incredibly powerful, maybe even destructive, maybe even I feel violent, right? Hypothetically. And you're telling me all emotions are cool, right? So what should I do?
All emotions are healthy, all behaviors are not, right?
Okay.
So we need to find healthy outlets for those emotions. So let's say you're furious with me.
Mm-hmm.
And this isn't necessarily something that would come up in a session with me in the work that I do. But if I had a guest come to me who said, outside of this session, I'm furious with my partner. I feel violent. I feel rage and I don't know what to do with it because I don't want to hurt them. I would tell them, move your body. You get that rage inside of you, discharge it in a healthy way. So if I work with a lot of people who can't move their body. So then I might say, write it out, scream it out, sing it out, right? But if I'm working with somebody who's healthy and able bodied and they can move, I'm going to say, I want you to have a dance party in your kitchen. I want you to go for a run. When I am filled with emotions that I don't know how to get out, like grief or despair or rage, you're going to find me dancing in my kitchen.
That's very nice, Dennis, because I don't do that when I'm angry.
Yeah. I was gonna say we express our anger not with dancing.
Yeah, it's not going to be like good dancing, but I'm going to be
Uh,
singing. I'm going to be poorly singing as loud as I can. I'm going to be moving my body in whatever way I can. Before my body got really ill, I would have been lifting weights. I would have been going for a run, something like that. Yeah.
okay, got it. Yeah. So yeah, sounds a bit more. Yeah, I get it. Awesome. So all emotions are valid. That means that maybe step one is this is emotion A, and this is a unhealthy response that comes from some painful event. That to make the distinction. Step two, maybe to understand and acknowledge that even our most toxic, angry emotions, they have a place and there is a reason why they are there. And
Yeah,
we can
and I
add.
wouldn't call them toxic either. I don't know if you've ever heard of sacred rage, but rage it can be a powerful force for transformation. It does
Yeah,
not have to be toxic.
absolutely. And when I say toxic, it's of course not for me. It's for people who they categorize as their own emotions because they've been brainwashed. That to like some people, I teach them how to stand up to themselves for themselves, how to be assertive. Some people label that as toxic sometimes, or they're confused. And in what situation can I do that? Can I not do that? Is it controlling? Is it so? There are many emotions on the spectrum that are survival based. That's anger, that is control, that is jealousy, that is sadness, extreme sadness, depression. Today in our society, those are labeled as toxic and are avoided like the plague. So,
and yet every one of us experiences them.
yeah, we need to experience them and we need to let them out, because inside our bodies, they create chronic illnesses. What is the chronic illness? It's, dude, wake up. Stop.
It's chronic
Yeah.
stress. Literally, it's due to chronic
Yeah.
stress. You put again and again and again and again.
So
And I'm thinking now, sorry, Dennis, I just want to add something. I'm thinking about the pills that they are give you for depression, you know, like to not feel depressed. I'm thinking this is repressing also the emotions that you are feeling. So it make it worse, actually. I just thought about it. What do you think, Dennis?
yeah, I never want to tell somebody not to take a medication if they need a medication, right? So if you are in a state of depression, maybe you're coming to the point of like suicidality, or you're in a state where like you can't even get out of bed every day, you can't even begin this work, then sometimes a mental health medication is going to be a really valuable tool in amongst a larger toolbox, right?
So
So Alex was asking me like what it looks like in my sessions if somebody was to come to me, right? And this can look very different depending on who's showing up, what their needs are that day. But I'm always going to look at things from an energetic perspective, right? So what is in misalignment in somebody's life? What is in misalignment in somebody's energy body? Things like that. And then that's my entry point.
I didn't understand.
We don't know. I mean,
didn't
kind of
understand.
know
Yeah,
what
but
is energetic. Like maybe I touched on some of it. And the energy body is like, so
Okay.
what's an energy body?
So every one of us has an energy body that surrounds our physical body. We are, according to my beliefs, we are souls first who are living in a human experience. So we are souls who have a body, right? So that soul and that energy body kind of encompasses our physical body. So from an energetic standpoint, you can start looking at energetic blockages in the body, which often began as an emotion or a significant event. We can look at family systems, at ancestral baggage that has come. We can look at past life scenarios that have come with us, because our soul, again, in my beliefs, sees this not as one life, but as one long continuous life. So the soul has many different bodies in many different lifetimes, and sometimes that stuff comes with us, right? And when we come into this life, we might bring agreements of experiences that we are meant to have, or something that is meant to support that soul's evolutional process so that we can continue to evolve.
Yes. I just, what you said for me was very clear, but I think for some people it's not clear. So I just want to add something a little bit scientific about it. We just know, I saw it, I don't remember when, that matter, but I saw that they understood that whatever is happening in today's life, when you make a baby, is written down in the DNA, you know, and when you're basically passing your traumas and your experience and everything what is happening right now, plus your past as well, right? So let's say you have something traumatic happening today, and you create a baby today, okay? So this take your traumas that happened today to your baby, it is passed down. But you also have to think that all what happened to your ancestor that was passed down to you also is here. So it's accumulating. And that's, so am I clear, Simon?
I can help you a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, we know for sure that we pass down information in our DNA. So there's certain reflexes, like for babies when they're born, to hold their breath while they go underwater. This is information. Like babies are not taught this. I think some babies are instinctually afraid of snakes and things like that. That's an instinct. Like we're never we're not taught to be afraid of them, but the way that they look, the way that the energy maybe that they have, that maybe babies are sensitive to, they somehow know. And we've been doing this at least for many millions of years, at the very, very least, probably hundreds, maybe billions of years, depending how you look at it, how we've passed down information. So that's one aspect that is sure. And I've heard of some studies, Alex, but I'm not sure exactly what you're referring to. But
I can speak to that. The
please,
studies
yeah.
I think Alex is referring to is the study of epigenetics. And so that's where, if you look up epigenetics, that's where we pass things down through our ancestral line, through our DNA, and into our future.
Oh, okay. So we pass traumas down, fears down with the DNA. Obviously, we also do it culturally, like from my experience being a descendant of Jewish people who have been through pretty bad stuff. They are sensitive to food because they were starving, and so a lot of them are later in life overweight, and that's like a ripple in a culture of always finish your
Absolutely.
plate, eat a lot, don't waste food. Like actually here in Vietnam, we're living in Vietnam, they hate wasting food. They do not waste anything because they come from a culture where, yeah, they were susceptible to a lot of famines, and they've seen horrors just 70 years ago. And
You
so
see this across every culture in
Oh, yeah.
different ways, right? Like
Yeah.
it's not always food, but there is
Right.
always something that comes with every culture. And it goes even further than that to be actually within family systems. You see that a lot when you start to do some of the lineage work that I do with my clients. You'll see how, because we're so multicultural now, I mean, I'm in Canada, we're very multicultural, and you see the different cultures come together and get married and have children. And so not only do you see the combination of these different cultural pieces come into the family system exactly like you're saying, how it's taught at the dinner table, even, right? It's just taught in the way of being, in the way of interacting. But it's also, if an individual in that family goes through something, maybe it's not even cultural, but now that person is carrying something, and then that fear is getting passed on. So what Alex was talking about was more genetic and also energetic. You see that big time in energy. And Simon, I think what you're referring to is more what is taught, right? What is passed down through language and teaching and how people show up in the spaces that they're in.
I'm saying that we are hit with trauma from our genes, from our cultures, from maybe if our grandfather by chance had depression, that will indirectly affect me. Or if my grandmother, she had some other problem, I will feel it on my flesh one way or another. Yeah.
Can I share some of how we break that cycle?
Please.
So what I see, I'm a parent, and what I see in the people around me and other parents around me, some of how people start to break these cycles is, I'll use the example of food. And I have a friend who's really amazing at this, and I'd like to think that I am too, but I have a friend who really is so good. with this. So you take the cycle of you have to finish your plate. No dessert if you don't finish your plate. No sweets until after dinner, you know? And some of those ideas come from the Depression era, having a lack of food, this idea that sweets are the devil, that like that dessert's something that you need to earn, that you can't waste the food on your plate. And so, as a parent, some of how you break that cycle for your children is making those boundaries very clear. I do not expect you to finish what's on your plate. You need to listen to your body first. Oh, you'd like a treat? Treats are so fun. How about we have one with our dinner? Right? Or talking about food in a different way, like, protein is so good for building muscles and strength. And these vegetables are so good for fiber and for moving things through your body and for getting the vitamins into you. And should we look up what vitamins are in this food? And oh, that cupcake. Cupcakes are so much fun, aren't they? That's a fun food. We can have fun foods too, right? And you just build this balance into your life while honoring your child listening to their bodies, because this goes right back to that disconnection from our bodies and not allowing ourselves to feel. If you are forced to finish everything on your plate every night, how do you listen to your body? How do you know what full feels like?
I think
Yeah.
Denisio explains that really, really well. Thank you.
Yeah. I just want to add that yesterday I made broccoli and I ate all my broccoli. It's gone.
Congratulations.
So
Your
I'm
mother would
feeling
be proud, I'm sure.
yeah. And yeah, I think it's a good time to summarize. It was a really interesting conversation, and we don't want to go too long, but I think that it was impactful and really interesting. Maybe there's something else that you want to add, or maybe you want to talk to people and explain to them how they can work with you in case they want to, or something like that.
Yeah. So I have a few different offerings. I do have a one-on-one practice where I do one-on-one intuitive energy healing or past life regression in our sessions. Um, I'm finally catching up on that wait list. So it's just getting to a point where I'm going to start accepting people onto the wait list again, now that I feel like it's moving to a point where it's acceptable to start increasing that wait list again. I work with a subgroup of patients living with complex chronic diseases. I offer this in a 5-week series, but that's through actually our medical system here in BC. So that's private to people who are with this specific 2 different internal medicine doctors. You can only access that group through there. However, what I've done is created a private version of that for the people who can't access that work through the medical clinic. And that's an on-demand program on my website. I also offer some meditations, some energetic transmissions, some card readings, things like that through my website, and a podcast. So the podcast is free. It's available on all major listening platforms. It's called Coming Home to Ourselves with Denise Alyssa. And my website is denisealyssa.com. That's DENISEELYSA.com. And if I could leave everyone with like one invitation to themselves to start to feel, to start to reconnect to themselves in that way, I would love to invite our listeners to just take a conscious moment once a day. Work it in somewhere that's like really reasonable for them. So this could be as simple as like you're sitting on the toilet. Okay, it doesn't have to be fancy. Like this, it can be you're brushing your teeth. It can be you're drinking your coffee in the morning. So one time of day where you're not interrupted, and take the moment to just pause. put your devices down, turn off the radio or whatever you're listening to. Do people still have radios? But turn off the sound, right? Turn off the distractions and just be with yourself just for a moment, right? Feel your feet on the ground. Let yourself kind of land in your body. Take a moment to maybe just like shift or notice what's uncomfortable or where it's uncomfortable. And there's no need to change any of it when you do this. So just be with it and just start there, just once a day, 2 minutes.
Awesome. Yeah, that's very regulating. That's a grounding exercise. Be in your body, be where you are, not in the future. That's terrifying. Not in the past. That's painful. Be here.
Start to be
Awesome.
more conscious. Yeah. Start to be
Yeah.
more conscious of what you feel, how you feel, of what you do for
As we
yourself.
weave
Yeah.
these really basic practices into our day-to-day life, that's what just invites these shifts to begin, right? Obviously, that's simplifying the whole process. But if you need somewhere to start, just start there.
Right. Awesome, Denise. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure talking with you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you both.